Hi, welcome to Lights Camera Author. This is episode 291, and I'm Jim Juno, your host, and I have with me tonight a very special guest. He is Kevin Farley. He and his brother was well-known comedian from Saturday Night Live and movies, named Chris Farley. And Kevin, you have a new graphic novel coming out
Mhm.
called "Growing Up Farley." You can see it over my right shoulder here.
Mhm.
Um, it is a graphic novel about growing up with your brother, and I read
Mhm.
it, and it's really a funny little. I want to say a funny little graphic novel because I'm used to like 300-page books, but this is like 120 pages.
Yeah, it's a
And
quick one.
yeah, and there was a lot of laughter in your family growing up, wasn't there?
Yeah, we did try to use laughter as a way to get by, and that was sort of our coping mechanism for, like any family, the ups and downs of living. We tried to attack it with humor.
That's the best way to do it. Yes, and
Um,
amazing. Your father, well, you're and Chris's father. He was as funny as you guys were. I mean, y'all had. He was
uh,
laughing like crazy too.
well, that's where we got it from. He was always, when he wasn't trying to discipline us, he was up for a good time. He was always interested in, he believed that life should be fun and, life should, you should take some time off to enjoy life as well as you work hard. But, also, you should be enjoying yourself also. Life should be, there should be a lot of joy, So, yeah, he always taught us that. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this: you and Chris, did y'all both go to Marquette University?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. The reason I wrote the book is the two people that were most influential on me were my father and my brother because I was in high school with Chris. We were only a year apart, or a little more. But I went to high school with him. He was a grade ahead of me, or two grades ahead of me. I failed one grade, but
it happens.
yeah. So high school, and then we both went to Marquette. And we both played rugby together at Marquette. We both played football at Edgewood High School. And I was always going through college and high school and college with Chris. And then we both worked for my dad's asphalt company. And so we just followed. And then I went to Second City when he went to Second City. And, he just inspired me in a lot of ways. And then my father, I worked for my father. Obviously, it was my father. And I worked for his company also, the asphalt company, Scotch Oil. And so we both, Chris and I have a lot of parallels that way. And I didn't go on Saturday Night Live, but I followed into stand-up comedy and comedic acting and that kind of thing. So it's just about the two people in my life that were most influential to me.
And you both went to, and you have my sympathies for this, Catholic grade school.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did 9 years of hard labor myself at a Catholic grade
yeah.
school.
We went to Edgewood High School, Edgewood Grade School, and Edgewood High School, and yeah, it was a Catholic run institution by the Cincinnati Dominican nuns. They were nuns. I never had a problem with them. Maybe a few, I guess. There were a few kind of cranky, but most of the time they were very helpful, very kind, and I always have good memories, of Edgewood High School.
Yeah, I imagine the older nuns were the cranky ones.
There were a few, like I'm not going to name names. They're probably dead now, but
Yes.
I they were just, they were just cranky. I think they were in bad mood. They were in bad moods a lot. It was it was nice to see them when they weren't in bad moods. But
All those years without sex will make anybody in a bad mood. Okay.
it's, I know, I guess.
And
Yeah.
but anyway, you know, he your brother loved to he always loved to show off, didn't he? I mean, it was
Yeah.
and a lot of times took his pants off or clothes off, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, he was a shocking kind of guy. He loved to. We used to play when you grow up with, I had all boys in my family, and so there was this game of one-upmanship, and if somebody did something outrageous, the other person would have to top it and that kind of thing. So there was always this game going on, and
He
he
was
always won it, And his one of his things was just take your pants off and the game's over, and you're like, okay, the game's over.
he always you mentioned in the novel he was always competitive, wasn't he?
He was, especially with me, because we were like really close in age. We couldn't play a game of checkers without it erupting into a fight. Basketball games in the backyard got to be pretty competitive, and yeah, I mean, basically everything. We played football together, and as we got older, that kind of faded away. But in our teens years, our teenage years, yeah, it got to be really competitive. But he was a good athlete too, so that's why we kind of went at it.
Yeah, he played football in high school, but like you say in the book or in their novel, Marquette does not have a football team.
No, so we went to club rugby.
Mm.
We both played rugby together, and in Tommy Boy, you can see his jacket. That's the rugby jacket of Marquette.
Oh,
Yeah, and so that was a great time. I never had played the game before, but then now I really understand what the game was all about, and it's an interesting game. It's a lot of fun.
it's almost like Kill the Man, isn't it?
It's like tackle schmear. Yeah, it looks like it, but there's a lot more going on there. It's very intricate when you get right down to it.
You know, I'd forgotten that y'all grew up in Wisconsin, and
Hmm.
you know, were you Packers fans?
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna say, I think
I
I
think
saw.
you would be a very odd person if you weren't a Packer fan growing up. Yeah,
Sometimes even now, I mean, with the cheese heads, so it's like,
yeah, yeah. No, you were born with that. They gave you that as soon as you were born. He's
I love how in the beginning of your book you're standing up on stage and people are asking you about other brothers of famous people, and I'm like, and it's like, I love how you say we don't have a club where we meet or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's like a club. I bring up like Frank Stallone and Roger Clinton, and there's just all this club. I kind of people I guess compare. I get a lot of questions about Chris and stuff, but
Mm.
um, no, I never really compared myself. We're very different in a lot of ways.
He was a real devotee of John Belushi, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He when we were growing up, we'd watch Saturday Night Live, and he loved because Belushi was a bigger guy that could really move well, and Chris was a very good athlete as well as John Belushi. But they both really knew how to move as bigger guys.
I was going to say a lot of people forget that about Chris is that he was athletic, and
Oh yeah.
and a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people only know him from some movies and Saturday Night Live and later
Mhm.
on in his career. But
Mhm.
when he was younger though, he was very, very athletic. Um,
He was very agile. Some of those kicks that you saw where he'd kick his leg all the way up, and some of the falls that he did was falling on a table or something like that.
yeah,
That requires that requires a lot of coordination as well as a lot of bravery.
I heard the story that they didn't expect him to do that. Christina Applegate
Mhm.
and the Bill was it who was with her on that
Um, and that was David Spade and
David
Christina
Spade.
Applegate. Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't expect him to do that, did they?
there was a lot of things that Chris used to do during the SNL that he would surprise people with, whether it be getting in your face or saying a line that wasn't supposed to be there or falling on a table, that kind of thing.
The
Yeah.
Matt Foley character makes an appearance in your graphic novel, and he that was a character he had developed at Second City, wasn't it?
That's correct. Yeah.
See, a lot of people don't realize that is that they thought
Yeah.
that was from Saturday Night Live. Uh,
No. Yeah.
but down a van down by the, I mean, everybody can relate. Everybody can repeat that line, so I'm not going to because I can't do it.
But
But
that was written by Bob Odenkirk, who is was in Breaking Bad, and Bob wrote that sketch for Chris. Really gave it to Chris. Yeah.
how much of it did he make up on the spot?
From time to time he would, but it was scripted, a lot of it.
Hmm.
But yeah, from time to time he would. Yeah.
What was your what was it hard putting in all the great thoughts that you shared in this book?
We worked well with each other, the Z2 comic guys, and we had a lot of conversations about what I wanted to put in the book, and I wanted to bring across, a lot of people don't know about my father, and there's a lot of there. He was a bigger guy with a big voice and a very big um, personality that both Chris and I basically brought everything. He got everything from. He was a huge part of our lives. Chris really looked up to him, and I did too. So I wanted to bring that aspect into the book and really kind of introduce people to my father, because he was such a huge part of our lives. And so we talked a lot about that. And we talked a lot about how, like I say, this is from my perspective on two of the most influential guys in my life. So I wanted to relay, since it is, my book about my perceptions and this kind of thing. So I wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to pay homage to two men that I wouldn't be here without.
When did you decide to not continue in college, but go to turn to comedy?
It was after I worked for my father, or his asphalt company, for a long time. It was about 6 years or so, and I decided to go down to Second City and just start to take the classes down there and learn improvisation and acting and improvisation. I would take acting classes as well. So I did a lot of acting in Chicago at that time, and commercial acting and this and that. And I was very happy in Chicago for 3 or 4 years, and then moved to Los Angeles to do more acting and do more improvising and that kind of thing, mostly sitcoms and auditioning and that kind of thing. So I think it was like 6 years after I graduated, which was in '88.
Uh-huh.
Then I started to go down to Second City and getting involved, and I've been an actor ever since.
What did Chris think about you getting involved in comedy?
I think he liked it, but he was also just a little nervous because it's such a terrible thing to do with your life. You know?
It's almost like being a podcaster. And
Yeah, yeah. It's like I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Not
that's
that it's
exactly how I feel.
bad. There's a lot that there's good and bad with it, but the bad is pretty bad. So I think he was nervous a little bit about that, just kind of like, oh boy,
I
you know.
gotta I gotta ask you this, and because people will say, "Well, you didn't ask him about what I want to," I mean, we're not here to talk about salacious stuff or rumors or whatever, whatever. Everybody knows what happened. He passed away at a
Yeah.
very early age. We don't need to dwell on that. But how did you avoid the same pitfalls?
Well, I think back in the day, I drank as much, at Marquette, and I drank a lot, and it was merely marijuana and alcohol. Then in 1994, I quit, because Chris started quitting, and then I realized what alcoholism really was.
Hmm.
I didn't even know what it was. I just thought everybody drank heavily. But yeah, I realized I had a problem also. And so I just got sober, had a lot of help from programs and from friends, and I got closer to God and tried to get closer to my faith. And I would really credit my faith
Yeah.
and people to help me through. Um, and then I had another slip around 2000, like 7 or 8, and yeah, that got a little tricky. And so I sobered up around 2016 again,
Yeah.
and I went back to the basics. Getting closer to God and understanding that I can't do it alone and this and that. So it just sort of it runs in the family, obviously. Alcoholism. Uh, you just learn certain behaviors that you don't think are gonna really affect you later, but they do.
Yeah. What did your father drink too?
He did. He did. Yeah, we had it in our house, growing up. So
Yeah.
they were lovely. I mean, great people. But we had, like any family, I guess, nobody's perfect, and that's the kind of thing that we had in our house.
I can understand that totally. I mean, my dad was a drinker, so
Yeah.
and I can understand that kind of environment. Um, a lot of people turn to comedy in that environment. It seems to be an outlet, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that with me, it when you get to realize um, that you have a problem, yeah, you really want to make somebody tell a joke here,
Yeah.
you know, because it gets too dark, I guess, too
Right.
depressing.
You find yourself watching Chris's movies?
Not as much anymore. I think I did for a little while, but not as much. Sorry,
That's
not as
okay.
much. I don't know what happened. Somebody gave me a call. I don't know. So, yeah, not as much, but now they're running SNL, like old SNL clips.
Oh,
I think I saw them on television the other day. Yeah,
it's like 24/7 now. Yeah.
I know
And
they're running it. They're running them all the time. So I saw them the other day. Yeah,
do you ever sit back and try to like diagram like what he's doing here? I know when he created that move or
yeah,
something of that nature.
yeah. A lot of that stuff, he did when we were growing up.
The
And that's when I would see him on television, like, oh yeah, I'd seen that before.
My favorite story in your book was dealt with him mooning the audience. He cut out the for backstory here, and then we're not gonna. I'm only gonna tell this one story in the book. You guys gotta buy it, okay, to get the
Please
full thing.
buy it.
Yeah. But at one point, was it in grade school that he was that he cut out a hole in a curtain or something like that, and mooned the entire audience during a
Mhm.
teacher's during a teacher lecture,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the teacher was like, "The joke's not that funny." I think.
That's the kind of thing he did, and he'd get in trouble for, but it was always to make the class laugh.
Yeah.
So
There was
yeah.
nothing there was nothing ever vindictive.
No, it's not like a practical joker.
Right.
No, he didn't have that kind of a spirit. He had more of he wanted to make everybody laugh, not just himself.
Right. And he doesn't care if they laughed at him because
No.
a lot of times he was the butt of the jokes.
Yeah, yeah, and it was sacrificial in a way.
Yeah. What are you doing now? I mean, are you still in stand-up comedy? A comedy? Trying to get the
Yeah, I
words
have
out?
a have a show this weekend in South Dakota. I was just in where was I? New Hampshire, Boston area, Every weekend I've got a show. You can go on kevinfarleyofficial.com and see
Yeah.
you can see where I am the next time. And I'm pretty much every weekend doing something stand-up wise. Yeah.
You're going to all the snowbound cities, I guess, right?
Well, I'll go wherever I can.
Exactly. So, where is home base for you, Kevin?
Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, did y'all get any snow down there?
No, we're getting a lot of rain. It's pretty cold
All
right now.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say because
Mhm.
I saw the news on Louisiana getting 8 inches of snow, which is kind of crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so um, when is the book coming out? February 11th, I want to say, something like
Yeah,
that.
I think so. Sometime in February. Yeah, it's coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out earlier,
It
and then
was. So I don't know. Like we were supposed to go before Christmas, and then we pushed it. So I don't really. I don't know when those guys are. Sometimes it changes. So I don't know when it. I hope it's coming out soon. Yeah, I think it'll be February. Yeah.
it will be in February. I have good feelings about it and everything.
Mhm.
Kevin, I tell you what, your brother made me laugh like crazy, and I'm sure that you're doing the same thing with your stand-up show. Do you tell jokes or are you a wit? Do you just do
I
you?
tell stories. I'm not a great joke teller. Once in a while. But I like to tell stories, funny stories. It's more like a one-man show.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, I tell you, KevinFarleyOfficial.com is the website,
Yes.
and the book is Growing Up Farley, a Chris
Yeah.
Farley story. It's a
Yeah.
graphic novel. Oh, I gotta ask you, who did the artwork for this?
The Z2 comics.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because
And yeah.
it looked familiar for some reason. I don't know why. Um, but yeah, I was like, it looks like something that I've seen before. I mean, artwork style that I've
Yeah.
seen
Oh,
before.
yeah. Well, they have a lot of guys that work there, and
Oh,
there's a
okay.
particular guy that did all of it, and I wish I had his name, but it's in the book. I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Kevin, I really appreciate you being on Lights Camera Author tonight. Again, Kevin Farley is the author. Growing Up Farley is the book, and you can pre-order it now at Amazon,
Yeah. At
uh,
Amazon. Yeah.
bnn.com, or bn.com rather,
Hmm.
or go into a brick and mortar store and order it. I mean,
Older.
you can
Yeah.
order it. Yeah, Kevin, I want to thank you again for being on Lights Camera Author.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you having me.